separated them from the outside world and its madness. And there it was. A small braided basket right in front of his feet. The good Mr. Schneider could hardly believe his eyes. But since his wife had seen it too, it had to be true. Now who would leave a big, nice basket like that in these days when it was hard to get anything at all? He thought to himself, while taking the pipe out of his mouth. The basket seemed to have a big blanket inside it. "Look, there's a letter," Mrs. Schneider said, and kneeled beside the basket to get the small envelope. "Maybe it's a gift from someone." She read it out loud for them both. "Her name is Sara?" Mr. and Mrs. Schneider looked at each other with great confusion. Now what was all this? Could it be? Carefully, Mrs. Schneider lifted some of the blanket, and the most beautiful sight met her. That of a sleeping baby girl, only 3 weeks old. Her hair was black as the night, and her skin soft and smooth. She was breathing heavily and smiling in her sleep. "Let me see," Mr. Schneider said, and looked under the blanket as well. It was hard to tell exactly what he felt when he saw the little face, but that was always difficult to know with him. What he felt. That was what Mrs. Schneider had come to learn over the years. He didn't talk much, and when he did, it was mostly about trains and whether they were on time or not. But this time she knew they felt the same thing. She recognized it in his eyes. It was instant love for this little girl that someone had left for them as a gift, as a true blessing in the middle of the worst times. "Hurry, let's take the basket inside before someone sees it," Mr. Schneider said, and Mrs. Schneider never thought about it twice. Inside the house, they unpacked the little girl, and Mr. Schneider hid the blanket, basket, and letter in the attic so no one would find it. Then they put her in the crib. Finally, they both thought, as they held each other and stared at her until she woke up. Finally, someone was sleeping in the crib. That day, they didn't think at all of the war or going to work or even about trains. They just held Sara in their arms and took turns feeding her the bottle and tickling her tummy. That day, for the first time in his life, Mr. Schneider was late for work. Chapter 2. The Jinx. Over the next 12 years, Sara grew up to be a young girl. She wasn't exactly the prettiest of the girls in the neighborhood, with her thick, messy, and curly black hair that always fell down on her forehead and covered her eyes. Even though her mom always tied it nicely on top of her head every morning, she would always come home from school with it like that. And maybe she wasn't the most well-behaved either. But Sara did have a good heart to her, her mother kept saying, when the neighbors complained about her climbing their trees, stealing their apples, or destroying their rose bushes. The teachers didn't know what to do with her either. She always seemed to get into trouble with the other kids, and she had a hard time sitting still during classes. Then, one day, a teacher gave her a book. "Try and read this," she said, and suddenly Sara sat still for hours. She didn't say a word to anyone until she was done with the book. Then she asked for another one, and the teacher gave her a new one. As the years went by, she read more and more. Her teachers encouraged her to do so. That way she wouldn't get in trouble, and they wouldn't be disturbed while trying to teach the other more well-mannered students. But even though Sara meant a lot of headaches for Mr. and Mrs. Schneider, they still looked at her as their pride. The neighbors never asked any questions as to where Sara suddenly came from, but there was a lot of talking about it over the picket fences when Mr. and Mrs. Schneider were not around to hear. The little tousled, black-haired, brown-eyed girl didn't seem to fit in anywhere in the nice Reidenburgerstrasse. Only the nosy Mrs. Mueller occasionally asked some questions. She would wonder how come the little girl's skin seemed much darker than her parents', how she got her black hair and dark brown eyes, since her parents were so very blonde and blue-eyed. But Sara never dejected that there could be anything but mere curiosity behind it, and she just smiled and answered the best she could. "I take after my grandmother, my mother always says." The nosy Mrs. Mueller would nod and look at Sara with great suspicion, since in those times during the war, being dark-skinned was not a good thing.